City Council meeting to order. Roll call.
Ford,
Oh, sorry, Scott.
Here.
Goody,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
And we have an invocation by Pastor Scott Moore. Sorry, I rolled right past you, sir.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you, first of all, for every seat that's filled here today. All those who have been elected, all who are employees of the city, and all of the seats that are filled with citizens that care about our city. Heavenly Father, we acknowledge that sometimes it is easy for us to allow our pride and preference to get in the way of making decisions that are truly in the best interest of others. So we ask that every single person that's going to participate tonight would seek the good of this great city over self. We ask that you would open up our minds and hearts to you and to one another as we participate in the privilege of making decisions that will affect the lives of everyone in our city. Let this not be taken lightly. We also ask that you would fill this place with a spirit of respect and cooperation so that all voices can be heard, so that the best decisions possible can be made. We know that you are the only one that truly knows what is best, and so we submit our will over to yours as we work through this agenda. Again, we ask that you would bless this meeting today and all those present. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stand and join Councilor or Councilwoman Ford for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're going to pull items 5B and 5M for discussion. Are there any other items to be removed?
Move to approve the consent agenda, absent items B and M.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, we have a second and a. Can I start over?
Yeah, you're doing fine.
Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Consent agenda passes. Item 5B, it's approval of the amendment to the Broken Arrow Planning Commission bylaws.
Okay, I ask that these be pulled. I always brag on our planning commission because they are braggable. They do a great job, and I think probably one of the best in the state. And I'm familiar with other planning commissions, and I'll speak highly of our council too. But our planning commission is really the backbones and what really helps us in making a lot of our decisions. I read through their bylaws. I think they did an excellent job. Actually, as a retired teacher, I could use that as a lesson plan to teach government, at least that level of government. And I would encourage Michaela, who I don't see here tonight, but Michaela Barton, who leads our youth city council, to use that in one of our meetings, because as you read through that, you really got a good definition of exactly what the board does, the planning commission. So I just wanted to make sure it was pulled from the consent agenda and acknowledge that I think they've done a great job in identifying what they do.
I was going to have it pulled too, but Johnny beat me to it. It hadn't been updated, the bylaws, since 2003. So I appreciate that it was updated. And also the volunteer time that they put in for our city is very appreciated. So a lot of people probably think they get paid and they don't. So I want to thank them for their volunteer time, because I also know they put a lot of their extra time besides just their meetings into that.
Absolutely.
That being said, I'd make a motion then that we approve the amendment to the Broken Arrow Planning Commission bylaws.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ford,
Yes.
Udi,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Item 5M is award the lowest responsible bid to R Group, Inc., DBA United Turf and Track, and approve and authorize execution of construction contract for the Indian Springs Sports Complex.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask this to be pulled because I'm very excited for Matt to come forward and update the council on this award as it relates to a very important piece of our Parks and Recreation initiative as approved by the voters in the 2018 General Obligation Bond Package. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Matt Hendren, Parks and Recreation Director. This project 216-0420 is the conversion of 4 natural grass fields to turf fields at Indian Springs Sports Complex. The overall cost of this project is just over $2.5 million. It'll take around 9 months to complete, and engineering construction and myself have worked really closely with the end user group on this project, and so I know that they're really excited. My son plays soccer. I talked to a lot of other parents. I know they're really excited about this. It's really going to help. It's really going to help park maintenance with having 4 full-size pitches that are turf, so that the use is not something that they really have to worry about too much. So, Mr. Spurgeon tells me all the time that I have the second best job in the city. He has the first. And last week I got to present the Elan Park Master Plan. This week I get to present this job. So every time I come and do this, I'm catching it just a little bit more.
Thank you, Matt. Does anyone have any further discussion?
Just one question, Matt. The 4 fields, are these going to go west of the softball complex, or are they going to go east of it? I've just a little idea.
They are west. These are the farthest west fields. So they're pointed north and south, and just the farthest west field. So it's 4 right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'd make a motion to award the lowest responsible bid to R Group, Inc. and approve and authorize execution of the construction contract for the Indian Springs Sports Complex turf field.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ford,
Yes.
Udi,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Curtis, will this get going back on now?
Yeah, you're yes.
All right. Item 7, public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, and awards. 7A, presentation of the Associated Builders and Contractors, Oklahoma Chapter 2021 Excellence in Construction Award to the City of Broken Arrow for various projects. Tim Robbins.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So each year, the Associated Builders and Contractors Incorporated company, that is a local organization, the Oklahoma chapter is, and there is also a national organization chapter. And it's full of all of our local contractors and builders that help build our cities and the states. And each year, they solicit out a competition called the Excellence in Construction competition, where they encourage all of the builders to submit their portfolios of their projects to be examined in and award Excellence in Construction awards. Well, our 3 contractors solicited for this competition, and we were able to pull in 3 awards you can see on the screen, and I'll even bring them out right here. All right, here we go. So the first contractor, the Crossland Heavy Contractors Incorporated, this was a project for the RMUA, so part of our Regional Metropolitan Utility Authority, the Hakey Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Activated Sludge Project. Helped to improve the purpose operations of sludge management at the plant, and it cost roughly $19,900,000 before that is just the construction portion. So there's also engineering portions to this, totaling around $22 million total. It was an incredible project. Crossland started this in October of 2021, and I'm sorry, that's October of 2020, and we have completed that as of November 2021. We're in the process of closing that out, and it has been an incredible project. Chris Walters with Crossland Heavy is here with us tonight, and we just appreciate everything that they've done. Diversified Civil Contractors is the next project
that we have on the Kenosha Street roadway improvements from Date to Main that you've all seen on our Kenosha Street. It was a long fought project. It was a wonderful project to win that out. We've increased from approximately 1,200 feet of asphalt roadway widening, taking it from a 4 to 5 lane project. The total cost was $2.6 million, and the project started in September 2020 and completed in July 2021. Nick hasn't been able to join us this evening, but Nick Zagrafis with Diversified Civil Contractors did a fantastic job working with our local businesses, making sure everybody stayed in access for all their businesses and got that project done for us. And the last contractor here, the Broken Arrow Armed Forces Meeting Hall project with Magnum Construction Incorporated, one of our local contractors here. They built us a 4,600 square foot building that's housing our armed forces, a meeting hall for all of our user groups, and just a wonderful facility for everybody to congregate in. And we've had lots of great press reel on that one and use. And it's just a fantastic project. And they did a wonderful job just kind of helping to create the element down at the Veterans Park. So that project started in July of 2020, and we have finished that this year, July 2021, with a total project cost of $1,180,000. Again, each one of these projects were evaluated against their scope of work, their overall quality plan, their safety plan, and the challenges through construction. So each one of these projects, you can imagine the levels of difficulty that they expressed. I've attached those into the RFA for anybody who'd like to read. Just wonderful, wonderful exhibits of projects. So if you'd like, I would like to have the contractors come up and acknowledge and have a photo with the entire council.
Why don't you all stay?
Well, you all. Good job.
Cheese.
One more, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
I'd like to make one observation on the one on Kenosha, because I lived with it for the year. There was a tremendous amount of work done and built on top of the pipe, which were, I don't know how large they were, 5 foot by 5 foot pipe. It carried all from their full construction site to carry all the water off of the Kenwood Hills, all that area up in there, right down the middle of that street. So they did a tremendous job of getting those in place, time frame, and getting the traffic around. So I know the others did too, but just as I said, I lived with that one for a year. So it was a
Yeah.
great job.
It looks amazing. I'll also just point out it's the Broken Arrow Veterans Center. Sorry. Just kind of to make sure that people know that. So, all right. Items A, citizens' opportunity to address the council. There are none. Going on to general council business. Item 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of PUD 326. It's a rezoning for Pine Valley. Larry Curtis.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Larry Curtis, Community Development Director for the city. Plan Unit Development PUD 326 involves approximately 58.26 acre parcel located on the northwest corner of New Orleans Street and Olive Avenue. BAZ 2096 is requesting to change the underlying zoning from A1 to RS3 and RM zoning. The development concept of Pine Valley includes two distinct single-family detached residential developments. The proposed development incorporates flexible lots, both public and private streets, on-site detention ponds, and open space. Development Area A is located on the northern portion of the property and is approximately 40.78 acres. Development Area B is a smaller area to the south of the property and approximately 17.48 acres. Property associated with PUD 326A and BAZ 2096 is designated as Level 2, Level 3, and Level 4 in the comprehensive plan. RS3 zoning is proposed on the northern area of PUD 326 is considered to be in conformance of the comprehensive plan in Level 2. RM zoning, as proposed on the southern portion of the property, is considered to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan in Level 3 and is permissible in Level 4 if developed as part of a PUD. Neighborhood meeting was held by the applicant at Cedar Ridge Christian Church on October 21st, 2021, with approximately 70 residents were in attendance. Due to the concerns expressed at the meeting, the applicant and the developer revised the PUD to include only single-family homes instead of a proposed multifamily type development. The Planning Commission in their meeting held on November 18th, 2021, recommended approval by a vote of 4-1 of the PUD and rezoning application. 16 residents spoke in opposition to this item or turned in a form stating that they were in opposition. Some of the main concerns included the potential for apartment-style development, drainage, flooding, and traffic. On December 15th, 2021, two counselors, along with staff, met with a group of concerned citizens to discuss the potential development. During the meeting, staff explained the requirements of the PUD and how the PUD would restrict the development. Staff suggested that to resolve some of the concerns associated with the RM zoning, that it may be possible for council to potentially downgrade the request from RM to RS4 in the area that is located in Level 3 of the comprehensive plan, while the remainder, a strip of 3 acres, would remain being RM zoning as it is located in the Level 4 of the comprehensive plan and required for the conformity of that. The applicant has indicated that this proposed solution is appropriate and they are in agreement with this proposed change. In addition to the zoning concern that was raised by the citizens, drainage was a big concern of the citizens in that area. Both we heard at the meeting that was held earlier in October, and the Planning Commission meeting, and the meeting that we had in December with the citizens, that drainage was a concern. Our Assistant City Manager of Operations, Kenny Schwab, and I both were there and discussed the concerns, listened carefully, intently to those concerns of those citizens, and went back and pulled all the record drawings that we could find of the development of Pembroke and the trails. We're currently continuing our investigation. We do note some things that have caught our eye that we definitely want to investigate to resolve. But both Kenny and I agree is that the potential for the development that could be going in to the east of Pembroke is that there is an opportunity that as we continue the investigation that we're looking at with Pembroke and the trails, that the proposed development of Pine Valley would provide an opportunity that if there is a problem to potentially over-detain within the proposed new development. Again, we're still investigating. We really appreciate all the assistance that we received from the homeowners associations out there. We've received a number of documents that have been instrumental as a part of our investigation. And I really want to give a shout out to the HOAs for being able to provide us that information. But the Planning Commission did make a recommendation. Staff also agrees, of course, with Planning Commission with the notation of changing as much of the area that's in Level 3 to RS4 zoning, and the remainder of that 3-acre strip to be remaining RM zoning for to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And the overlay district will then restrict the use to single family. I see a question.
Can't we just amend the 3-acre strip of the comprehensive plan so that instead of,
Because that is not what's before you
I
tonight.
understand that, but I don't understand why that's not before us tonight as part of this.
There's not a need. I mean, an RM zoning allows for single-family use.
I know, I'm just to make it uniform is what I'm saying.
I understand.
Okay.
But as the comprehensive plan allows for single-family use through an RM zoning classification, and because 3 acres is a very tiny amount of land, it would not be conducive for any type of future multifamily. That being said, the PUD is what governs. It is the document that locks in what uses can be there. And this proposed PUD is consistent both on development area A and development area B as being single-family zoning.
Just curious.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I know the applicant is here. I do believe there are a few citizens who would also like to chat.
Do you want to have a discussion?
You know,
there?
I don't have any questions. I think, one thing that, that I had written down is I want to make sure that we have some sort of stormwater, quality feature like we're doing in, like over on Lynn Lane. That's something at that development. If that's, because that's something we had talked about moving forward that we were going to,
And
try to do in these neighborhoods. And
that is something I can let Kenny speak more to that if you'd like. But through engineering construction, we're going through the process of updating our engineering design criteria to
Okay.
incorporate those standards into all future development as we move forward, not just
right.
ones that come
Yeah.
before us. This will be a requirement for everything as it moves forward.
I love that idea.
Yeah, both the stormwater quality associated with that. We do have also, it is a requirement that we look at the storm from the state, the new state law that came into play and the permitting that is associated with it. And Kenny or any engineer, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but those are standards that we have to look at anyways to be enforcing it. But those standards we are putting in the engineering design criteria manual.
That's correct. And just as you stated, right now, we do not have those standards in place. So I think the question from the vice mayor is, can that be a stipulation in the PUD right now? That there's a stormwater quality feature, wetlands, or whatever the case may be, just like we did, I believe it's the estates at Lynn Lane, like she referred to.
Is that not, just for my question, I hate to ask this, but is that not already part of our new state permit that we have to look at stormwater quality?
There are still no design standards in the state permit, so, but we can tie it to that, is what you're thinking.
I would not recommend it, as that's not a zoning issue. And the reason why that is, this is a zoning issue. This is a land use issue. And I hear the concerns that you're raising and everything along those lines. It's just that's not something in particular. In the previous one, there were quality issues that were in place that affected other land users that were definitely in the sense that there was potential wetlands in there, and a 404 in this area. There is no floodplain. There's nothing that land use wise is affecting it.
So
There's no
just be,
flood.
it would just be tied to
floodplain.
the engineering plans.
There is no regulated floodplain in this area. This, from FEMA, it's not
It's not in the
100-year
100-year
floodplain,
floodplain.
500-year floodplain, or any of that.
I feel like that's something that we had talked, and we can figure this out. But it's like, at what point can we talk about stormwater and dealing with some features like this? At what point can we, if we can't hear?
That would be the conditional final plat stage.
Okay.
That does come back before you.
Okay.
And so, yes. And so those are questions that can be raised at that time, and to ensure that those are there. And I believe, the applicant is definitely here listening, and I'm sure that they will be providing those potential answers to you as well. But the
Okay.
conditional final plat, that's where we're going to have engineering and things along those
Okay.
lines.
Well, given that that's a concern expressed by the vice mayor, and I think if this is approved tonight, which big if, we have a lot of discussion to do, but
Yes.
if it's approved tonight, I think it needs to come back. not on the consent agenda, but it needs to be on the regular agenda so that we can address it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Well, even though there's not a floodplain, there will be a flood area. I mean, there'll be an area to control that. And that will be when you bring it back or when it comes back to us, that will be discussed of what kind of detention has to be in place and
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, and in addition, it's just, there is a possibility that the city will be working with potentially working with the developer, if this was to move forward, on potentially needing to over detain to help mitigate some of the water runoff concerns that are happening in the area. Absolutely.
So they would have to, and as with any PUD, they have to perform the hydrologic studies and make sure that no less and no more is coming on, going off to make
As with-
sure that it
Yeah,
complies.
every development in the city. Yes.
And there may be a need in that event, in this particular process, to over detain, to
Take
address
care of-
other
Yes.
issues.
Correct.
And I agree with the Vice Mayor's concern, because in my neighborhood, we have this detention pond that is used probably 3 rains a year. And the rest of the time, it's a big weedy mess that is otherwise unattractive. So being able to incorporate some design standards in it and make it aesthetically pleasing year round is not a bad idea.
Oh, absolutely.
And just for people that are here that kind of weren't aware of what at the meeting that we had the other night, Lisa, Counselor Ford and I were in attendance. I just want to say thank you to Kenny Schwab and Larry Curtis for attending and because and really listening. And I feel like everyone that was there got their voices were heard, and that we're working diligently to figure out how we can address these issues, before they become issues. Address the concerns before they become issues. And I really appreciate that. And, but I don't really have any other questions if you want to hear from me.
So we'll hear from the residents. We have Jim Becker, sorry. What? Or does it matter?
Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. If you can see the RS3 at the northwest corner, we live just outside of that northwest corner. And already before any impervious surfaces show up, such as roofs, driveways, and the like, we have tremendous runoff. So in addition to the southern area where the over retention is what you've been talking about, we already have tremendous runoff in that area where it's already going into the ground, such that we have 2 inches of rain going down our sidewalk and it covers the street whenever there's a heavy rain. And I'm not talking about a 100-year flood or a 500-year flood. I'm talking about Oklahoma rains. And we get plenty of those. And already, if there is something that would be built so that the rain didn't go into the property for proper over retention, that whole northwest corner of that is going to have continued or worsened flooded streets. And that's why I wanted to speak in opposition to any pushing aside of the idea of a tremendous water retention system. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Scott Hendren.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. Especially thank Christy Gillespie and Lisa Ford for meeting with us last week. I attended that meeting and really appreciate your concern and listening to us. My wife and I live in Rushbrook. We've been there 2.5 years. We've been in Broken Arrow. I've been in Broken Arrow over 25 years. She's been here like over 30. Wouldn't live anywhere else. We love the city. We chose to live in the area we're in now because of the quiet residential nature of Rushbrook, Pembroke, and these surrounding areas. So when we saw the development was proposing multifamily on the southern tract, we were a little bit alarmed by that. I was at the meeting 2 months ago where the developer said, well, they'll go ahead and put in a single family. I believe, if I understand right, they're now agreeing to go ahead and change the zoning from RM to RS4. And if that's the case, then I think that issue is probably moot. I do also stand in support of the problems that people from Pembroke and the trails are having with flooding, and just want to voice that concern. And that's
Thank
all.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Coulter.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and good evening. I've lived in the estates at Pembroke Park since 2006. During that time, we've had several storms and rains, and we've had considerable runoff. The two ponds that we have there in the estates of Pembroke Park have risen considerably. The water level in one of them reached the footing of Jim Bigelow's retaining wall. Jim couldn't be here tonight because his mother just passed away. It's just off of that RM section you're talking about there when it drains into the street there by Laredo Place. I don't guess I'm opposed to this development at all, except when we were at one of the meetings several months ago, the builders committed to having all single-family homes. So I don't see the need for an RM zoning. I think it should be zoned something. I don't know the zoning codes, but it should all be zoned for single-family. They committed to it. I unfortunately had dealings with builders before and contractors and developers that did not live up to what they said they were going to do. And a lot of things kind of slipped by. Once they got in, they were approved. Sadly, some of that happened in our subdivision. We had to come back to the city in 2008 and ask the city to live up to what they signed on for. And the city did that. They came in and they had to build some sidewalks that were not built and some other things that the developer didn't do. So I'm glad that you all are taking the time to listen to us. We have some erosion problems on the east side of our east pond and the estates of Pembroke Park, where there is an old pond in that wild area now. And when it does rain, it drains into our area. And we had the erosion under control for considerable time. But here lately, we've got a pretty good ditch there. There was no riprap or anything put in there to deflect the water. And it just sort of runs down there and creates a normal trench. It's getting about 1.5 2 foot now. And with additional runoff from the development, I'm concerned about that particular thing. And I don't know whether that's going to be our responsibility. I didn't know I was on the clock. Anyway, thank you all for listening.
I was going to tell you, sir, that what our Director of Community Development said is that, and I think what we're voting on if we were to vote for this, is that the RM will be RS4, which is single family.
Okay,
they're going to do that. So,
Okay, so it will be
except for like
changed to RS4?
yes, it doesn't show it
Super.
up there because we're dealing with an old, but according to what we're voting on tonight, am I correct in that, Larry? It's going to be RS4, all but a 3-acre tract, which I asked about. So
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thanks, Roger.
The applicant like to speak?
Mayor, Council, Eric Ganyard with Tanner Consulting, 5323 South Lewis Avenue in Tulsa. We did prepare the applications for the rezoning and the plan unit development. We did have a very well-populated neighborhood meeting. We've been listening through all the different steps in the review process, and incorporating changes that make sense and improve the overall development proposal. We're excited about this development. This will be a good fit, very compatible, very nice subdivision, and I can't think of a nicer neighbor than what we are proposing. Initially, there was a concept for the middle piece that was going to buffer our traditional, RS3 on the north to what we anticipate will be a commercial node on the south. You have a higher intensity node, you kind of want to buffer your own development. We had initially a few different concepts, one of which would have required the RM zoning. We decided not to do that. And the only thing that will be allowed by this PUD, locked into place, is a gated single-family subdivision. Unfortunately, when you do RM zoning, you have to notify property owners within a quarter mile rather than the normal 300 feet. So we sent out well over 600 notices, and that excited a lot of attention. And I realize we can't satisfy everybody, and a lot of people would rather this not be developed at all, but we are following the city's plan. The comprehensive plan for this property does permit the zoning that we are proposing. And we are in agreement with staff and the Planning Commission recommendation for approval. And we're also in agreement with cutting down the RM to just that tiny little strip along the southeast side, just shy of 3 acres. Understand that under the comprehensive plan, that's really the only thing within the PUD and underlying zoning mix that this can be. So we'll reduce this down to just a little strip that you couldn't do anything with anyway. And I do want to emphasize that this PUD locks in that the only thing that this area can be developed for is gated single-family homes. And I guarantee when you build these homes, there will be nothing else built there for at least 100 years. Those are the key points I wanted to make. I did speak with Larry, and I want to thank the staff for working with us through this process. I understand that the neighborhood meeting, we were not in attendance, but the idea was floated that if there was something that we could do to compensate for maybe some inadequate drainage downstream, that was talked about. And I haven't had a chance to talk to my client about this, but if there's some sort of reasonable and fair way of doing this that is proportional to our contribution and what may have to be done downstream, we would entertain those conversations. I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those.
I have a question, Mayor. So this study, Kenny, is this something we're looking at about how we could probably partner?
Yes, the engineer of record is Jack Cox, and this was done probably back in 2005. We're looking through all the information that we have on file for the estates at Pembroke Park subdivision. And there's a lot in there about the hydrology and hydraulics, but typically there's a report. And we have not found the south half. We did find the north half. But internally, our engineering staff, our stormwater engineers are basically reconstructing what should have been there and how it's functioning right now. So I would say probably over the next 30 days, we'll have a lot better information. And then we'll be more than willing to present that back to you, Mr. Spurgeon, and also to Larry's group as well.
Well, I appreciate Eric and your team willing to work with us. Is this something that if we need to, we could actually take to the Drainage Advisory Committee?
It's very possible that can be, yes.
Okay.
Well, and as with every project, you will have to do hydrologic studies on this and make sure that you at minimum don't contribute to any additional issues.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm pretty excited about this. I appreciate the council members going and hearing the residents and those that are speaking, but certainly if there's something the city can do, because that's what Prop 6 money was for, to be able to help. So we'll keep that moving forward and report back to the council.
That's a good idea. And I appreciate your willingness to meet with the homeowners, the surrounding homeowners, because not everyone does that. And it makes a huge difference. And whenever I'm a neighbor to the south of there. And, it feels nice when people are willing to listen and say, okay, I want to be a part of the solution. you know, I want to help in any way I can to be a part of that solution. So that's a really good thing, because something's happening here. I mean, it is, you know, when you have a field on a corner, it's something's happening.
Something's going to happen.
And so we want to make it the best thing we can. And so I feel pretty good about it. And that extra detention that could possibly solve some problems that, you know, we've already had. So that would be good too.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I would like to say thank you to Shannon Blair. She was the one who provided all the information to us, and she's been really helpful as we've gone through this process from the citizen side.
Yes. I'm surprised she didn't speak.
I know, I thought she was going to.
Oh,
you are?
Did
Are
she
you?
sign up?
I do not. Did I miss it? That's who I was waiting for. And then it's under 9B. It got marked as 9B instead of 9A. So can I just pull it? Okay.
Sure. You're the mayor.
Miss Blair? Oh.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight. And thank you both, Lisa and Christy, for coming out and listening to us, and really appreciate that. I've been in public service most of my life, and believe me, those meetings at 8 o'clock at night are not something you really like doing. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for considering moving it from RM to RS4. That makes a lot of difference in our comfort level. The other thing that I wanted to say is that, you know, I addressed it in the meeting the other night that our drainage system that we currently have, where our ponds are located, at East Pond and West Pond. The East Pond, when it gets full, just flows onto private property. It's a drainage easement, but it is flat. It is, you know, so it doesn't carry the water to a specific drainage basin. And if there is a drainage basin other than the bar ditch on 101st Street, it is very inadequate. So I'm just asking you to consider, I know that we've talked about the stormwater fees, and it is a fee. It is not a tax. So it's, when we pay a fee, it's for like water service or electric or gas service. That's fees. So it should provide service back to the people who are paying for it. And I'm asking you to consider that. I really believe that a stormwater drainage basin needs to be built at 101st and Astor area, and to help the water flow away from the other addition west of us. And also, there's been a concern expressed by many of the neighbors, and I'm with the HOA, by the way, many of the neighbors about additional traffic. And I'm not real knowledgeable about traffic engineering, so I will leave that up to the people who are. But I just wanted to let you know that that is something that is a concern. My only concern is at this point is just the drainage being handled adequately. Thank you so much for listening to me, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, will there be a traffic study done as part of this?
Yeah, there'll be a traffic study for this one.
Because this is a 2-lane road.
Yeah, it's a 2-lane road, but now there'll be a traffic study done. They're proposing 3 entrances and exits through their PUD located off of Olive, and there are 3 connections into the existing Pembroke subdivision. There is a 4th, but that'll be just a emergency exit entrance and exit for our emergency vehicles to utilize there off of Laredo Place.
And they're willing to put in, I guess that'd be part of the final plat, to do decel lanes if necessary. And
If that is what the
traffic
study
study
comes out and says, yes.
Any further discussion?
I'd make a motion to approve PUD 326 and BAZ 2096 as per Planning Commission staff recommendation with the additional requirement that the area of development B that is located in Comprehensive Plan Level 3 be zoned RS4 and the portion of property located in Comprehensive Plan Level 4 be rezoned accordingly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Motion passes. Item 9B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of SP 304 ERB properties. Short-term rental off of Houston Street. Larry Curtis.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, SP 304 is a request for a specific use permit for a Type 4 short-term rental on property located 1/4 mile north of Houston Street and 1/3 mile west of 9th Street. Type 4 short-term rentals are allowed in Area 4 of the DROD with specific use permit approved by City Council. A short-term rental permit is required for each year of operation. With Type 4 short-term rental, up to 6 individuals or 2 families are permitted to stay up to 30 days. 1 guest room may be permitted for each 2,000 square foot of lot area up to a maximum of 4 guests. According to Tulsa County Assessor records, the 4-bedroom house associated with SP 304 contains 9,043 square feet of lot area. The house was built in 1960 and contains 1,686 square feet of livable space. According to the applicant, short-term rentals has not occurred previously on the property. With Type 4 short-term rentals, 1 parking space is required for each room. Consequently, 4 parking spaces are required. There is no garage associated with this structure. The driveway appears to be able to accommodate up to 4 vehicles. Plus up to 2 vehicles can be parked on the street. There are no public sidewalks on the property. As a result, the number of required parking spaces can be met. SP 304 was reviewed by the Planning Commission on November 18th, 2021. During the public hearing session on this item, 1 person spoke in opposition and expressed concerns about driveway not being as wide as it is a new driveway. House is located on a corner lot, that the neighborhood is being encroached upon by rental property. House sold twice this year, and the house being sold to someone else in the future. After reviewing the information provided by staff, the applicant, the public hearing participant, the Planning Commission voted to approve SP 304, but with the condition that the specific use permit for short-term rental would be only for the current property owner. If the property is sold, the specific use permit for the short-term rental would expire. On December 7th, 2021, the city clerk office received a petition with 13 signatures in opposition to having a short-term rental in the neighborhood. At this time, staff recommends that SP 304 be approved for Planning Commission and staff recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Is there any discussion?
Make sure to understand though, if the property is sold,
Yes.
then it negates this. Is that
Correct.
correct? And I
Correct.
think it should be. I mean, I know it goes with the property, but I think it needs to go with that person that's responsible for that
Yeah.
property.
And that's what's so good about SPs is that there is a lot of flexibility that is given
Right.
to council and the planning commission. So, it could be, you could put a time limit on it. You can put a restriction on it that if the property was to change hands, for this example, if there are additional maintenance concerns that are associated with it, all those things can be added to the permit for it to provide those conditions.
Well, the last one that we heard, we denied because of history of poor maintenance.
Yes.
What is the maintenance history with this?
I am not aware of any code.
That didn't seem to be an issue raised here, so
No.
that was concerning about the last one. So where
Yeah,
are we with this?
I'm unaware of any current code issues that are located with this property. And I do have a note in the staff file that in reviewing the Tulsa County Assessor's office records, the house associated with SP 304 was sold in April 9th, 2021 for $105,000. The house appears to have been remodeled during the past year. 5 months later, it sold again on September 20th of this year for $243,000. So there's been a marketable uptick in maintenance associated with it, but I'll let the applicant speak more towards that than we can.
So I'm going to make sure, because it was my understanding that once we did the special use permit, that it followed the property no matter what. Are you saying that this doesn't with
Correct.
this one?
We
So
can decide.
typically, SPs, unless there is a restriction placed,
Mhm.
follows the land forever.
Mhm.
In this instance, the planning commission made a
Okay, the
recommendation
Planning Commission did.
to restrict that to only to the lifetime that is owned by this owner. When it does transfer, as all property eventually transfers, then that SP would go away. So with our new system, luckily that Tyler, that we're very fortunate in becoming online in April, we can mark that in our system. And so we can trigger that when the name changes in the, not to get into too much detail, it keeps all the names of every property owners and gets updated every time the county does an update. And so if that was to trigger a change, then flag would go up and we would know to notify the new property owner that that goes away and that our map changes accordingly.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
How's the notification then if there are some problems, say that a code enforcement has to go out? Are you notified?
Yeah. So if there are any issues in the current system and in the new system, is that what's great is that in the new system, it'll be more aware amongst all departments to see what's going on, not just code enforcement and say community development. It'll actually be aware to everyone within the city will have access to it. We went in as a part of this development process to get as many licenses. So that way, if someone complains after hours, then dispatch can see that. So all that will be there. But, you know, as usual process, we'll go through the process of getting them to abate the issue. But if there is continued failure, because they are required to obtain a license every year for this facility, if there is continued failure for them to maintain their property, we will revoke their license as per our ordinance. And we would go through that process to have it revoked. So there's no guarantee that you get a license. That is not guaranteed. That is, you get to, unless you violate our ordinances, then all bets are off.
And it seems like it gives us more, I don't know, I don't want to say power, but to make sure it's maintained than just an individual owning their house and not taking care of that.
Mhm.
I mean, so that, yeah, I like that.
In some ways, a short-term rental is actually gives us more oversight than long-term, because I can rent my house for as long as I want, as long as it exceeds 30 days,
correct.
and I don't have to get permission from anybody.
Right.
And I can rent it to whomever I want.
Yep.
Whereas with this, there's at least more oversight by the city in regard to if it's, 4 to 5 day rentals,
Yeah.
we actually can exert more oversight over that.
And I know we received a question earlier today about, there's still some that are non-compliance, but as you can see, we've had some more cases, but staff is exploring options that may be available to us to have companies actually monitor and provide us updates and be more proactive than what we're currently available to do right now. But we're currently looking into that.
Do we have any leeway as far as how many short-term rentals can be within a neighborhood?
The way the ordinance is written right now, no. But as we are going through the zoning code update, and we hope to have that adopted by the fall of next year, I would highly encourage that as something, and as staff is listening,
Yeah.
that is something that we will approach our consultant to provide, saying, because that is a concern. Eventually could be that an entire subdivision could have 10 of those things.
It could change the whole
Character
of the subdivision.
And that's,
Yeah.
I don't think the nature of what is expected for single family uses to really be.
Right.
I can see a couple, within a neighborhood, but there could be, just like we have for medical marijuana, a distance separation requirement of, 1,000 feet or so from another B&B.
I like that idea.
But staff will look into that and talk to our consultant about it.
Is the applicant here? Hey there.
Hello, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Emily Burke, Mayor, Vice Mayor, thank you for taking the time to consider my request to have granted a specific use permit for the residential property at 309 South 2nd Street. My name is Emily Burke, and I'm the owner of ERB Properties. I manage or own a total of 17 properties used as short and long-term rentals in the area. I want to start off by saying I'm very excited about Broken Arrow. and the many things the council is working on in the last few years to grow the local economy and better the community. Things like Elan Park, New Orleans Square, a thriving Main Street, all make this a great place to live and a great place to visit. Many people don't understand the complexities that come with the industry of short-term rentals. My business looks to remodel, furnish, and then manage higher-end properties and improve upon neighborhood property value and the property and provide a much-needed service to the community. Most people that stay in short-term rentals are families. They're in town for a variety of reasons, maybe considering a move to the area, visiting family, or coming in for a special event that might be taking place, graduations, holiday lights at REMA, or youth sporting events, just to name a few examples. It brings me much joy when I'm able to talk to these visitors and point them to local businesses and bring tourism dollars to the community. Great coffee shops, restaurants, and shopping exist on Main Street, which is within walking distance of this property. I don't know of plans that are in place today for local lodging taxes for the city of Broken Arrow, but I can tell you in the city of Tulsa, I will be paying roughly $30,000 in taxes this upcoming year. My point is that aside from local businesses enjoying dollars from these visitors coming to Broken Arrow, the city should also be paid for the properties that are currently being run as short-term rentals. I'm taking every step to go about this process of application in a legal and professional manner. But today there are over 35 short-term rentals in the city of Broken Arrow. As far as I know, only 4 have actually applied and only 3 have been approved. ERB properties, they rent out for $200 to $400 per night. I'm a super host, which essentially means I provide outstanding hospitality. I'm highly rated by guests, and I'm known to be experienced, reliable, and responsive. My services include anything that is needed to maintain these properties, from cleaning in between guests, the gardener that comes on a weekly basis, to that pesky drain that's clogged and needs immediate attention. I provide employment to a team of people that help me keep these properties pristine. Having these homes well cared for makes it possible for me to have a 5-star rating on both VRBO and Airbnb. I'd like to point out a few of the differences between short-term rentals and long-term rentals. This home today is being used as a 30-plus day rental instead of a short-term rental. This will be my plan should the specific use permit not be approved this evening. I have rules in place for all of my short-term rentals. For example, each of my properties has quiet hours. There's a maximum number of guests allowed in the house. They're asked to park in the driveway, etc. When I spoke with the people that were opposed to my property being used as a short-term rental, I suggested we work together to create rules that would make all involved happy. From my point of view, as someone who owns both short and long-term rental properties, the homes are much better kept with constant supervision in a short-term rental. The big concerns that were brought to my attention were parking on the street, increased crime, and property values, and I'd like to address each of those concerns. To start with, I'd like to show the photos of the property pre and post work that has been done. We did have many vehicles at the house while the remodeling was taking place and the furnishing of the home. But as I mentioned, I asked guests to park in the driveway if at all possible. The parking is sufficient for 4 vehicles, and most families that come to stay only bring 1 to 2 vehicles. I've submitted photos of other parking issues that I've seen on the street. There's a vacant home that sits directly across the street from this one. There's a home with broken down vehicles permanently parked in the driveway. There's also a vehicle parked on grass and filled with lawn waste that has been there for several weeks. Can't make everyone perfect, right? The second concern that was increased crime. Aside from the house rules that guests must agree to prior to booking, I also put in place at each property ring cameras at each entrance, a digital door lock that will automatically change codes between guests. And with these security features in place, I'm able to see everyone coming and going from the homes I manage. Airbnb will also collect driver's licenses, credit card information, and reviews from other hosts to confirm that guests do have a positive track record. I also like to know what brings people to my properties, so I ask them a few questions before accepting a booking. Things like, what brings you to town, so that I can make sure they have a great visit while they're here. This is common practice in helping them have a wonderful stay. The final concern was related to property value. In this instance, I'd ask you to take a look at some of the photos I've submitted and shared this evening and compare it to others on the street. With a vacant property across the way, some that have grills sitting in the front lawn, I'd say the home is doing the opposite of decreasing property values, but rather improving the property values. I appreciate your time and consideration. I hope that my neighbors will now have a better understanding of my business and that we can work together to create a harmonious environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got first Jerry Cole. Here. No? He submitted signatures in opposition for this. So we'll move on to, these are hard. I'm gonna go to the next one while I figure that one out. Emily Burke, but you've already spoke. Sherry Mitchell. If you guys want.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to me tonight. I have been living in Broken Arrow on 2nd Street since October 2000. The house at 309 South 2nd Street had sat empty for years. The home had started to deteriorate. The wood around the roof line had started to fall down. Someone had stole the air conditioning unit. There was high grass during mowing seasons, and it was an eyesore. And 2 years ago, the owners took some initiative and moved out some furniture, and they put money in to upkeep the house to prepare it for sale. Since Emily has purchased the property, it's become a transformation that's been phenomenal for our neighborhood. It's a showplace, and it's probably the most beautiful home on the block. I remember when the city decided to revitalize downtown area. Shopkeepers and residents close to downtown were very upset because of the change. Now that the revitalizing is going on and it's almost completed, these people that were against the downtown revitalization, they're happy because it's brought their property value up. It's brought enormous sales tax. That's what my specialty is. I work in sales tax for air gas, so I know about sales tax. So it's brought, more value to our city. And, some people have complained about older homes being torn down and these massive homes being built, but that's only increased our property value. My home has gone up in the past 3 years, $45,000. That wouldn't have happened without revitalizing downtown, and it wouldn't have happened without these larger homes going into the neighborhood. There are 6 houses on 2nd Street. 2 of them are rental properties. I believe one is vacant right now and the other is being rented. And those homes are well maintained. There is a home on the block that has 2 broken down vehicles in the driveway, and it's been there for several years. I did have a truck, utility truck that was parked in front of my house for 2.5 years. I never said anything about it because I was trying to be respectful. Same with the parked cars. I was trying to be respectful. And see, I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna have to hurry up. I just want to say that we are living in changing times, and to bring more money to our town, we have to accept the change. And I am supportive of this Airbnb. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So on the one that I think it's, I'm going to read the address. 305 East El Paso Street.
Good evening. My name's Jurgens Wolfson.
Okay.
That's why you couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
Right off the bat, I can see that where the owner of the property has improved it vastly, and it looks good. I won't dispute that fact. But the problem exists is that there was no discussion about any sort of, oh, it's going to be so wonderful for Broken Arrow. There was no discussion about making rules. There was no discussion about how great it's going to be, or that, oh, it's going to be a B&B. That was not brought up. It was, oh, it's going to be a rental. I don't have a problem with a rental. Long-term, 1 year, I got no problem with that. But you bring in short-term rentals like this, you bring in long-term crime. I don't know who these people are. They could be coming in, anybody with an identification, any sort of fake identification. I should know because I investigate them. And anybody can come in with a fake ID, fake information. Oh, look, you didn't disclose you were a sexual predator in our neighborhood. That's not going to stay. They could be making pornography films, selling drugs, stealing from all of us. We don't want it. I've got no problem with the owner. I got no problem with the long-term rental. I have a problem with the short-term rental. Everybody in the neighborhood that I've spoken to does have a problem with it. My neighbor to my east, police officer, he doesn't like it. I've asked him why. Same reason I don't. Could be bringing in short-term rental, could be bringing in long-term crime. I'm all for making money for Broken Arrow. I work for the city of Tulsa. Strangely enough, at the Hickey Creek wastewater treatment plant that I saw that wonderful aeration system that you showed this evening. Okay, I'm all for bringing something into Broken Arrow. But if you want to have an Airbnb, put it over in the area where the Airbnb will service its best clientele. That's in the downtown area. There's several properties open over there for that. This is not the area for it. This is a residential area. Children, elders, retired. We don't want these sort of things around here. The gate to the back of the property is literally within 75 feet of my front door. If I want to go over and have a party with everybody, hey, come on over. We'll go in my back garden. I don't want to go hear you partying over there. I really don't. I don't want to deal with this. Quiet hours, so forth. I've not seen her come in there. I've not seen the groundskeeper come in there. All I've seen is sprinklers that are spraying water on the ground now that it's cold, causing ice slicks in the morning. It's not but something that we want. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and the last one I have is Lance. Just says Lance. I think it says Lance. 305 52nd Street, maybe? No?
South 2nd.
South 2nd? No? Nobody?
He's back there. I don't know if he just doesn't want to speak or not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no? Okay. Okay. I don't mean to put Chief on the spot, but are you able to speak to what he was saying about, short-term brings long-term crime or?
Without having a specific study of the year, I can't tell you that. It's really about the people that manage the property than it is people that stay in the property. So, good apartments are run by good managers, and bad apartments are run by people that don't care. So it really depends on who operates the facility.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yep. Okay. Is there further discussion or questions of the applicant?
I'll make a motion to approve SB 304 as recommended by Planning Commission and staff.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second. Roll call. Motion passes. Item 9C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an extension to the temporary moratorium for rezoning, planning, PUD, and specific use permit applications within New Orleans Square District. Larry?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. On February 18, 2021, the City Council approved a temporary moratorium effective through August 31st, 2021 to prohibit the acceptance or processing of any applications for rezoning, plan unit developments, and or specific use permits for properties that are located within the New Orleans Square District. During the regular meeting on August 2nd, 2021, the City Council approved an extension of the moratorium from August 31st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, with the exception of minor amendments. Due to the anticipated timeline to complete the New Orleans Square Overlay District, staff is asking that this moratorium to be extended from the December 31st through February 28th, 2022. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. We're really close, folks.
Yeah.
I make a motion to extend the temporary moratorium until February 28, 2022.
Second.
We have motion and second. Roll call. Motion passes.
Thank you.
There are no preview ordinances. There are no ordinances, remarks, and inquiries by governing body members. Anyone?
I did go to a farmer's market today for Sensory Santa, and oh my gosh, it was pretty awesome. So I think the TED team maybe takes care of that. And I just wanted to thank them. I did talk to a lot of parents that were very happy that we offered that, and they didn't live here. They were from Owasso and different places of people coming in to see that. So
I think we started that last year, and they had a
3 years.
now? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it was,
yeah, that's right.
and like we have the best Santa ever. I'm just saying, have really good
And it's
Santa.
great that we have the 2 sleighs that were made by our Parks Department.
And the gingerbread house.
And the gingerbread house, so that if there are children that don't want to be near Santa.
And the firefighters were there, and the officers were there earlier. I missed them. I came late into the time frame, but it was really nice. So thank you for TED team and whoever else.
Mayor, since Councilmember Ford brought it up, I was going to mention a couple of bullet points about it. So if I could go ahead right now. It is the 3rd annual event that's sponsored by the city. There were representatives from the fire department, solid waste, recycling, the police department, and our TED team. The estimated attendance was between 50 and 100 children. The first event 3 years ago, we had 1. So your point about it growing and coming, folks coming from the area, vendors included Autism Oklahoma, Oklahoma Fosters, Soaring on Hope, Pediatric Therapy, and Autism Center. So the amount of agencies that are participating, this continues to grow as well. You covered a couple of those. The TED team actually recommended this to Norm and to me a couple of years ago, and it has been amazing to see the growth of it, and it's something we're going to continue to try to promote. All 4 television stations came out and did interviews. So it just tells you once again, Broken Arrow is a leader in making sure that we are a welcome city for everyone to come, whether you live here or to come into our city. So I am so proud of this, and I appreciate the information, Norm.
And they actually said, Norm, that was kind of that you wanted to happen. So I don't know. I know you may not want that. You may not want that, but they told me today that it was definitely sponsored by you or promoted by you.
Perfect.
And we had our holiday festival at New Orleans Square, not this past Saturday, but the one before. And it was a huge success. And I mean, I just appreciate everyone that came out from the city and worked and made it fun. And the Santa area was so pretty. And it was just, of course, it was cold outside, but it was really sunny. So it was a nice day. And I just appreciate that so much because all the vendors I talked to, they were ecstatic. They sold a lot. I had a couple of them tell me that they were like, we're going to sell out and we have another fair next week that we're not going to have anything for. We're going to have to cancel. I had someone actually tell me that. And so I just appreciate that so much. It was a good time. I bought a lot of stuff too. And then I will give everyone, I will not talk about the Constitution tonight, but even though I love it. But what I do want to encourage everyone is, Christmas is this weekend, and we talk about community a lot in our city, but I want to end, traditions. I grew up with traditions, so it's just like normal to me. But I've realized as I've gotten older that not every family has traditions like that. And, it doesn't matter if you have a grandma to have those traditions. You can still make your own traditions. And I know I'm looking at Pastor Ward because I know because y'all are having a little different Christmas this year because your son is gone, he's away. And making new traditions that, to take care of those times when, family isn't there. And so, just think about that. Think about making those traditions, but also bringing people into your home that, that maybe are alone during this time of year. And because we never know whose life we're affecting just by those small little ways of reaching out to people.
So we actually do
Yes,
that
you do.
at Christmas.
Deborah's
and
awesome at this.
We call it
The mayor.
misplaced
That's awesome.
humans. So if there's any misplaced humans, we have food
Yes.
around 1:00 at our house. So
I just wish everyone a Merry Christmas, especially our hardworking staff and the folks who make the city work. Thank you for doing it year round, and special Merry Christmas for each of you for being who you are. So thanks.
agreed. Remarks by city manager.
Just a couple, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Udi. I appreciate that. I was going to lead off, and on behalf of the entire council, I'd like to, and myself, thank the 850 approximate employees for everything they do. I hear from you each and every day in some way a thank you for the effort that they go above and beyond to try to serve our citizens. And so I think it's important that we reach out and let them know that they are appreciated. So thank you to all of you, and I appreciate the support that you give. I just want to let the council know we do have a new superintendent of schools for the Broken Arrow Public School District. There was some discussion that I initiated about having some type of press conference this week to show, as a part of our partnership, that obviously we want to thank Dr. Vinson for her service to our district. Unfortunately, Mr. Perry, because he's got a big job to do, decided to take a week or so off. And so I thought it'd be kind of anticlimactic. And so tomorrow there's going to be a joint press release from the Chamber of Commerce in the city, just welcoming him. Obviously, when there's a change in leadership and one of the legs of the stool, the other two need to stay. The whole point of me wanting to do this is that we're going to welcome Chuck. We all know him. We've worked with him. He bleeds black and gold. That's for sure. So it's another opportunity for us to continue building upon this. So it'll be something coming out tomorrow. And the other thing is I wanted to mention, as the council knows, and I think it's important that I mention this, is that with regard to the Bells Amusement Park, I just want there was a private meeting that was held at one of our week, and I did a statement last Friday because there was some confusion about city officials. I was getting out of my car, and the two of our good friends on Main Street said, "Hey, we'll see you tonight at the public meeting." And not 5 minutes early, Kenny had called me and said, "Mike, we got to do something because some people believe this is a public meeting." And so there were about 100 to 125 people that attended. They have very, very much have concerns about the project. I asked the organizers that I spoke to focus in on the concerns, because this council has always been very good, as you proved again tonight. It's the issues regarding development that matter the most to you. And so that's what I asked them to focus on. And I understand that a portion of the meeting, that was what was actually discussed, which I'm very appreciative of. The result of the meeting, as I understand it, is that on January 18th, a group of folks are going to come, and one of them, or maybe a group of them, are going to present a petition in opposition. I've not seen the petition. I'm only sharing with you what I know, in opposition to the project. Mr. Bell has offered to attend that meeting, and I'm going to take him up on it, not to speak, but I don't know if they're going to ask to be on the agenda under the public portion, but I do think Mr. Bell being here would be a good idea, just in case, because obviously this council has no application to look at. We're not even at the starting line yet. However, obviously, if we do receive one, that's one opportunity to review everything and make a determination if that it would be something that would be, great for the city of Broken Arrow. And if there are concerns, how we would try to address them. So I just think that, make sure there's no misinformation. There's no application. The city has no agreement to provide any incentives. Do I think that they're going to make an ask of the city? Absolutely. I think at some point there probably could. And this, as we have with every other project, we look at every application for a request for funding in a very serious way to determine jobs, additional sales tax, property taxes, but also the impact that it has on the area. And so I just want all the folks that are out there to know is that we are excited about the opportunity to look at this, but we also know is we have a responsibility to have good planning like we went through tonight. And so the exact same thing is going to happen should we get an application. So, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have about that.
Thank you. All right. We have an executive session. Is there a motion?
Move to take a recess to enter beta in Bama.
Second.
A motion and second. Roll call.
Ford,
Yes.
Udi,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Ford,
Here.
Udi,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Get fast. Motion passes. And there are no public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, or awards. General authority business, item 6A, consideration, discussion, possible approval of, and authorization to execute professional consulting agreement with Garver LLC for Adams Creek Sewer Shed Basin Study. Ethan Edwards.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ethan Edwards, Director of Engineering and Construction for the city. Happy holidays. Hopefully this is the last presentation you have for the 2021 year. So, Larry, I get to be last. I do want to recognize a couple of Leadership Broken Arrow class members here tonight. So if you leave and don't get them signed, you got to come back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got to stay. You got to get your paper signed.
That's a wonderful program, by the way. I'm really enjoying that.
Yes. Good.
Back to business here. The item before you tonight, the agreement for the Adams Creek Sewer Shed Feasibility Study. Through this process, we started several months ago. We had a request for proposals. We received 9 statements of qualifications, and we interviewed 5 firms throughout that process. And through that selection process, we did select Garver LLC, and Mary Elizabeth Mock here is senior project manager with the firm, and she's probably going to say a couple of things after I'm done. But this is roughly going to take about a year to complete, as we discussed it at a special meeting a couple of months ago. And some of the items on the scope, just to highlight a few things, because this is going to give us, this report, this document is going to give us some direction for several decades to come. So very excited to be a part of this process. Some of the items in the contract will be basin optimization, which is looking at the lift stations in the northwest or the northeast area of the city, and the collection system to see what improvements can be made. Some potential wastewater treatment plant options, discharge locations, public information and safety or engagement, which is really important to the city. We do a really good job with that. I know Mary and her team are going to do fantastic with that. And then we'll culminate with a feasibility report at the end to document the process. So I'm super excited about the project and here to answer any questions you may have.
I'm excited that you're excited about this.
Let's let Mary talk.
Yes.
Good evening, Council. As Mr. Edwards just noted, my name is Mary Elizabeth Mock, and I'm also very excited as part of this project. You know, it's not every day that you get to assist a town or a city like the caliber of Broken Arrow to look at how to manage and treat wastewater for, as Mr. Edwards just noted, for decades to come. So not only are we just super excited about the project, we're also very excited to work again with Broken Arrow on another project. I've had the opportunity as a senior project manager with over 16 years of experience working for Garver to work with a number of communities. And I have to tell you, the leadership that Mr. Spurgeon and Mr. Schwab, as well as Ethan Edwards and his staff have provided is just top notch. We have fun, they're hardworking, they're incredibly diligent in the work that they do. And I'm so excited to work on another project with such high quality staff too. So if you have any questions regarding the project more specifically, me or Mr. Edwards would be happy to answer.
My only comment would be that I'm excited too. You know?
This is a long time coming.
Yeah, it really has been a long time coming, and we can see a need out there. And I think that it's not really good stewardship. Whatever is out there now is not. So changes that we could help provide a good stewardship for the funds that, you know what I mean, come from the city of Broken Arrow.
Absolutely.
But I could foresee several different alternatives. So I am really excited about this particular project.
We're going to do some type of press announcement about it because obviously you all hear, especially those that this is in your ward, that there are concerns. And this is for the future. Ethan hit on the head. This is a couple of decades. And so this will be a document that will be around for quite a long time and will have such a huge impact. So, and I know Mary, and she's got a great firm, and it's a blessing to have you here. So
Thank you so much.
I would like to point out, we will have a couple of check-in meetings with the authority during the process. We did have a lot when we were scoping this project out, because I mean, the scope could be almost infinite. So Mary Elizabeth and her team, they're fantastic to work with, and we really did work together to create a scope that is kind of a menu of options that we can look at, and we don't have to go too far down one direction if we decide we're going to go a different direction. So anyway, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Mary.
Make a motion to approve and authorize execution of a professional consulting agreement with Garver LLC for the Adams Creek Sewer Shed Basin Study.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Motion passes. Are there any remarks or inquiries by a governing body? Remarks by city manager?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. Kenny Schwab and I talked yesterday, and we are working on the next 5-year rate model for Bama. And I anticipate probably sometime in the spring, as a part of the budget process, we'll be setting up some special meetings with the governing body authority, more specifically to discuss that next model. We're just trying to come up with the final touches on some of the expenses in the different categories. Just want to let you know we continue to work on that's probably going to be one of the most important documents that the governing body looks at, second only to the budget, because of the impact that it's going to have possibly for the next 5 years in terms of rates on our customers. That's all I have.
Thank you. There is no executive session. With a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
With a motion and a second. Roll call. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Ford.
Here.
Udi.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items from the consent agenda to be removed?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
With a motion and a second. Roll call. Motion passes. There are no presentations, general authority business. Are there any inquiries or remarks by governing body? City manager?
Come in.
None? There's no executive.
Make a motion to adjourn.
There is.
There
an executive
is. Oh,
session.
you're right.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
I'd make a
So,
motion to take a brief recess to clear the room for executive session.
Second.
a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ford.
Yes.
Udi.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Gillespie.
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. I know, I was like, whoa,
We knew that.
there were a lot of
We
words.
can put it on the same page.
Yeah, that's what I say. We knew that.
I always thought it was on the other one.